you all tonight to Kansas. My name is Mark Hine. I chair the Garden City Area Chamber of Government Affairs Committee. Tonight's event is hosted by the Garden City Telegram and the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank the City of Garden City for offering up this facility for us and televising us on local TV. We'd especially like to thank Ashley Freeberg back there, who's working overtime. We appreciate that, Ashley. Tonight, the Chamber and the Telegram are hosting the forum to increase awareness of these primary elections and the candidates representing these areas. A little statement here, I want to make sure that this is understood. I want to be clear that the Garden City Chamber does not endorse candidates, period. We want to facilitate events such as this to help our members and our community have access to candidates and elected officials so that they can better decide for themselves which candidates to support. Furthermore, the Garden City Chamber is not a member of or affiliated with the Kansas Chamber, often referred to as the State Chamber. The Garden City Chamber is an independent organization focusing primarily on issues pertinent to Garden City, Finney County, and Southwest Kansas, and believes candidates seeking to represent this area should be chosen by the voters in this area. So again, we do not endorse candidates. We're here to open this up to allow them to talk about the different issues and you become an informed voter. With that, I feel a little awkward here going back and forth, but I don't know how to do this. I'd like to introduce the candidates we have tonight. Finney County Commission District Number 1, and this is in no particular order other than what was on here. David Crace, Lon Pishney, and Charles Sinclair. From the Finney County Commission District 4, we have Bill Clifford, who's running unopposed. And from Finney County Commission District 5, we have Larry Jones, who's running unopposed. House District 122, we have Representative Russ Jennings. In the House District 123, we have Representative John Dahl, Garden City, running unopposed. And as John said, the only thing he can do tonight is hurt himself. Not really. Well, the format we're going to use tonight, and this is for everybody so you know this, that there's the timekeeper, Steve, President of the Chamber, Steve Dyer. And I have questions here to ask that were developed from the Chamber Government Affairs Committee, from the Garden City Telegram, and we received also input from community members. I will ask these questions. We're going to go from county to state. We'll go back and forth. They're not just going to be all county and then all state. You'll have 2 minutes to answer the questions. At about 1:45, Steve will raise his hands and let you know, hey, got about 15 seconds to wrap it up. That pretty much okay. Any questions anybody has? If we have time, if there's remaining time, we'll take questions from the audience. I don't know if we will or not, but given the number of folks and the questions we have here. And I'm going to start with the county, and the other thing I want to make sure I do, so if I don't do this, remind me. I'm going to start, and I want to make sure I rotate the start, so you're not, Larry, you're not starting every one. That's fine. So I can move on. But on the county, explain how you would be a good steward of taxpayer dollars when budgeting and weighing a need for services versus property taxpayer relief. Give us your thoughts on the proposed county budget and its impact on local taxpayers. And what about property valuations? That's a mouthful, I know, but there you go.
Well, I'll start by saying, first of all, I'm a taxpayer, so I always want to protect the taxpayer. Our budget, we approved it or published it Monday. We lowered the mill levy a little bit. Valuations was up, so we are spending a little more money. We did a wage study for the employees, and some of our employees that were hourly employees were way below where they needed to be, and we brought them up. It just seems like it's a non-ending battle. We had to cut a lot of outside agencies, which is always painful. I know it affects a lot of people when we do that, but hopefully we try to treat everybody fairly. Does that answer? Oh, valuation was another. On the valuations, the assessor does that, and it's comparable sales other than ag land, and ag land is use value, and that's set by the state.
Okay. And if you need me repeating part of the questions, folks, let me know as we go along here.
I'm Dr. Bill Clifford, candidate for the 4th District. As you know, I'm a sitting trustee at the community college, so we did our heavy lifting last night on our budget, and I'm happy to say we're able to slightly decrease our mill levy as well. I think the reason public entities are able to decrease the mill levy right now is because economic development has been so successful, and certainly as part of the county commission, I intend to promote economic development for existing businesses and bringing businesses here. If you look at the mill levy, yes, it's dropping, but the revenue for public entities is increasing, so we can provide wages, so we can provide education, so we can provide services. And the reason for that is the valuation of the county is increasing. So I'm going to bring that bent to the county commission, so I think that's the only way we can continue to provide services. Okay.
Well, on the city commission, the 8 years we was on there, we always tried to keep the mill levy level on that and try not to increase it. Even though we did increase it a couple times because we saw the value of having to increase it. Sometimes I may disagree with the county trying to take the broad axe to the other non-taxing entities to cut them so much. But like I say, I'm not on there right now, but you have to take into effect by cutting the mill levy and cutting these other agencies how it does affect the community. The city, like I say, we did raise it a couple of times, but things worked out. We got the economic development, we got the retail in, we got the increase in the sales tax. So part of that is due to the fact that I don't feel like that we cut the agencies so much that we funded everything that needed to be funded. On the valuation, I know the county commission has really no control over the appraiser on how he increases the valuation of the housing and everything else like that. But I feel like that is a problem with our senior citizens on fixed incomes on how the valuation keeps increasing. So, you know, I think that we need to look at the state level. Is there some other options on how we can address this valuation? Maybe we put in a valuation to where when you buy that property, it stays at that valuation. Maybe put a sales tax on property that's sold to replace those. But I know it is a problem for our senior citizens and people on fixed incomes on the valuation.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Chamber and the Telegram for sponsoring this, because I agree that it's best for people to make an informed and wise decision at the poll, and this is one way they can gather information for that decision. With regard to stewardship and evaluation, budget, taxpayers, as a board member, what I look for is input and thoughts and ideas from the owners of that entity, and the owners to me of the county are the taxpayers, and so they are critical. They're the ones that are funding the bulk of the budget for the county. So my process will be to get out and gather input and see exactly what it is the taxpayers would like to see for our county. Sometimes the mill levy may have to go up, but we need to make sure it's done in a prudent fashion, that it's for things that the county should be in the business of doing, and private business may not be able to fill or shouldn't be doing. So we need to really wrestle with what is the purpose of the county business as we're talking to the taxpayers, gathering input, and putting budgets together. The valuation, it was interesting for me to see at the county commission meeting the other morning how our evaluations compare to other counties, especially Seward and Ford County. We are very, very fortunate, and a lot of that has been due to the economic development, the retail, Shulman Crossing, and some of these other things that are going to come online in the future, and the hotels that are being built and so forth and so on. So I think we're in a very blessed place valuation-wise. I think we're very fortunate with in our county, but it's all about gathering input, getting ideas and thoughts from the taxpayers.
Charles. I don't have a lot of experience of this angle. I am a taxpayer. and I am a senior citizen, and I have enough time on my hands that I can attend meetings, I can gather information, and I might also say that our county commissioners at this point have done a remarkable job. They've done a super job. Sometimes they don't get credit for it, but they've really done a great job. And if you don't think so, look around our community. It's been wonderful. I have no access to grind, and I just want to see if I can contribute to the place I call home that I probably like more than any place I've ever lived in my life. Right here. I don't have to have this job to survive. I just want to do it so that maybe I can help somebody. Thank you.
We're going to shift gears now to our state representatives. I have a question for Russ and John. What are some options to address the state budget situation in terms of declining revenues and reserves? Along with that question, is it possible to eliminate the income taxes as Governor Brownback would like eventually to be able to do? So with that.
Thank you, Mark. I too would like to thank the Garden City Telegram and the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. Lon mentioned a moment ago that these kinds of events are important so that people can assess the candidates and get a little more insight into who they are, what they are thinking about, their skills and their aptitudes in this role. And I would just say I'm disappointed that my opponent tonight, for whatever reason, has decided that he wasn't able to be here. It does deprive you of an opportunity to evaluate us on a side-by-side basis, and that's unfortunate. But I'm still available between now and August the 5th if there are any more opportunities. That being said, the state of Kansas is facing a significant challenge at this point. Our ending balance, as it's projected right now, will end up being somewhere in the neighborhood of $27 million at the end of the current fiscal year. It's well below the mandated level by law of 7.5%. I think to say tonight that I would target a particular area for budget cuts or target a particular area for a tax increase, it would be premature to do so. And I would say that I would take an all of the above approach, that we'll have to have everything on the table. I think the one thing that won't be on the table, though, will be education. We just finished funding education at a level that was adequate to meet the court's requirements. And to go back in and adjust education funding lower would only invite more court intervention that we really don't want to have. So I think it's quite a challenge in terms of the long-term prospect of eliminating income taxes in the state of Kansas. We're not Alaska, we're not Texas, and we're not Florida. So I don't see that occurring anytime soon.
Thanks, Russ. John?
I also want to thank the Chamber and thank Garden City Telegram for hosting this thing. The only way we can get input and output has to be together. We have to listen to you and regurgitate what we think we hear. As far as the taxes are concerned, in April and May, our projections were $300 million short. The projection in June is $28 million short. We're at, you know, you can ask any business being involved in the city, looking at a lot of budgets, you can't continue on that road. You know, this influx that we're supposed to have, from the very beginning, I kind of questioned anyway, because it was a Kansas City, Wichita. What was in it for Western Kansas? I think we were going to sacrifice a lot, and it wasn't going to be, you know, I don't know the benefits we were going to get from this. I've said over and over and over again, I work for the people of Garden City. I don't work for a particular group of brothers or a chamber or anything else. And Garden City, I think that this isn't the route we need to go. I've suggested to the governor, who I admire, a great man. I think this approach to zero income tax isn't going to work, and it's pretty obvious with the numbers.
Now switch back to the county. Dr. Clifford, start with you. What's your opinion of the new court-related Services Building. And what comments have you heard from staff involved and the public in relation to that building?
Well, I certainly think it's necessary to consolidate the functions under one roof. In addition, integrating that with the juvenile detention facility makes sense to me. I'm a little bit concerned, and I know citizens have expressed concern to me that the state is going to unload more of the responsibility for those agencies on local municipalities and local entities, county entities. So I think all of us who join the commission will be watching that, and we'll work with our state representatives to make sure that that trend does not continue. I think, again, I'm supportive of it. We're building a building at the college now, and I am concerned about the cost of it. So as I get involved with the commission, certainly I'll get involved with the committees to look at what we call value engineering, so we can make sure the taxpayers get sufficient value from that facility. But I'm certainly, I was thrilled that the vote went through to enable that facility, and we'll see it through to make sure it functions well.
Thank you, Dr. Clifford. David?
Well, as long as it makes things more efficient, then I support it. I think if we have the surrounding counties that are using the facility to where we're getting ample return from the out-of-county people using it, then I think it'll be a good thing. Just like I say, I know the county commission will be very diligent on the construction of it and the costs, and control the cost of it. And as long as we control the cost, I think it'll be a good thing.
Thank you.
I think part of the question was what are we hearing out in the public, and part of what I've heard in the public is a new building needed, and some of those questions more than criticisms, but definitely support for the funding mechanism for that building. And personally, I have to trust our elected officials to make wise decisions, and I was not privy to any of the information other than what I read about how that decision was made. But it appears to me that there was a lot of thought that went into that. Definitely consolidation of services makes a tremendous amount of sense. I'm a proponent of consolidating wherever we can, whether it be governmental entities or within government entities. So the feedback has been kind of neutral, if you will, in the realm that I live in. But at least I think the funding mechanism met with a lot of positive comments.
Excellent. Charles?
The things I've heard was, do we really need it? And that's because of raising taxes. Is this something that we have researched enough to keep it down to the minimum that we can pay and build this building? I don't know. But other people don't know either. Some people, mostly I think people that are retired on fixed incomes are struggling a little. They sure have some questions about it. But I guess maybe the thing we're now faced with, time will tell whether we did it wrong or right. And then it's too late. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. Larry?
Well, I'll have to reiterate what Lon said, that the mechanism that we're funding it through sales tax was our only option. We, as a commission, I know we kind of decided we weren't going to raise property taxes to build this thing. And if the vote had failed, we would have built it. We just progressed what we had. We met with Architect Monday, the building committee did, and one of the first things we talked about was efficiencies, how we could have one receptionist handle all three agencies, and those type of things. So we've got 5 construction management firms that are very interested in the project and are going to turn in bids. So I think there's a lot of interest in it in the community, and hopefully we can get it built under budget. So that's the goal.
Thank you. John, I'll start with you on this one. What about the possible impact of the budget issues on KDOT projects in western Kansas? Kind of follow up on that first budget question.
T-Works, I understand, will not be touched. It's going to be there. So that includes for us, between Cimarron and Dodge City. I think there's some work on 83 in the general vicinity of here. Well, this month, we had to borrow, the general fund had to borrow $675 million from different agencies. And you know, we always refer to the bank at KDOT, and so I'm not sure, haven't seen where the funds have come from, but I'm sure KDOT got hit on that pretty hard. If we continue the direction that we're going as far as the finances are concerned, you know, I think everything's on the table. And I would say that, you know, but I've been assured that T-Works is okay. I worry about, you know, it's transportation. You know, we're going to meet, some of us are meeting Friday with Amtrak. You know, there's going to be different things that are going to happen. The airports are going to, you know, it's all going to be affected, you know. So when we have that, anything that's on the table is in play as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Chris?
Well, I think, you know, this goes to jobs as well. We talk about transportation systems and we talk about industries wanting to locate or businesses wanting to locate in our state. The second or third item that they look at on their list of important things is your transportation system. Will they be able to get their goods and services delivered to people in an expedient and efficient way? And Kansas has a long history of having really good highways. If we reduce our investment in our public transportation highway system, we will negatively impact our ability to attract businesses and people. And we will eliminate lots of jobs from the construction industry that build and maintain these roads through contracts. So this would be low on the list of priorities, I would think, for taking funds from. But as I said earlier, everything will be on the table. One of the things, John mentioned the bank of KDOT. One of the things that's happened with this is that we've increased our state debt from about $3 billion, that's with a B, to about $4 billion in just a fairly recent number of years. And most of that is as a result of highway bonding. So when we take hundreds of millions of dollars out of the KDOT budget, KDOT then turns around and issues bonds to go ahead and continue to do the projects that they're doing. And for my tastes, it sounds and looks a little bit too much like what we see at the federal government. It is a clever way of borrowing money and funding government, and still taking care of highways. But we're coming to a day of reckoning around all of this. So I'd like to see it hold steady, but it have to be considered.
David, we'll start with you on this one. The Convention and Visitors Bureau receives significant transient guest tax funding. What's your impression of the operations of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the county's handling of that growing revenue stream?
Well, I was glad to see that they are increasing the revenues, and with the construction of the new hotels in town also. I think with the Convention and Tourism Bureau, we have that large cash income, and I think we can use that also to go ahead and further increase the benefits we see from them here by maybe in the future looking at a convention center. Right now we're becoming the retail center of Southwest Kansas, and I think we also need to focus on using those monies to develop as an entertainment center or as a convention tourism type thing, to where we utilize what we already have. Hotels.
Well, Mark, I think the Convention Visitors Bureau has done a nice job of increasing awareness of Garden City and Southwest Kansas, whether it be through the Kansas Sampler or whether it be through electronic media, whatever the means might be. And I think there's a lot of work that still can be done in that area. I don't see Garden City as a tourist attraction, so to speak, but I do see it as a place for visitors to come, and so I was certainly glad to see the name change not too long ago when it changed from tourism to visitors. The funding itself, I think it's like any other budget. You know, we need to make sure it's used wisely, that it's used for the right projects, if you will, the right visitor attractions. But I certainly like Finney County and Garden City as a retail center of Southwest Kansas better than I do as an entertainment center that some of our neighbors have. And that's not to say anything against our neighbors, because they certainly are doing a nice job with entertainment. But at the same time, I think it's up to our Convention Visitor Bureau board to use the funds that are coming in wisely, whether it be basketball tournaments or whether it be other events that they try to fund.
Thank you. Charles?
Back up a little bit. Some years ago, I lived in Dodge City when they got the big convention center over there. And Garden City messed around and has talked about it for years. And that convention center that Dodge City got was a tremendous asset to their community, and still is. And I don't think Dodge City's even coming close to being the retail business hub that Garden City is. I don't think it ever will be, because of the casino backfired a little on them and caused a lot of ill feelings. But Garden City could do well with a convention center. They could do really well. And quite frankly, I'm very proud to say that we have a retail center in the middle of the desert almost. And you know, if you look back, as history does it, there was a place that was a desert that nobody wanted to go to by the name of Las Vegas, Nevada. There was nothing there except some forward-thinking people that saw an opportunity. And that's where we're at. We could increase a lot of things with this convention center. And I hope we can afford it. And we probably can.
Thank you. All right.
Well, looking back at the Convention Visitors Bureau and the evolution that it's gone through in the last few years, it's changed a lot. I like the way they do their grant system now, and they have just 2 periods a year to develop grants, and they've worked on their board membership and kind of straightened it up and have a rotation set up, so you know we have new people in there all the time, and I think Kimberly's doing a great job. I think it's run real well. You know, we see their budget once a year. They come and report to us quarterly, kind of see where they're at, what direction they're going. That's about the only input we have on it.
Dr. Clemmer?
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Jones about the supervision, because when I was involved with the Game Refuge Board, I used to just make a phone call and say, hey, we need $2,000, can you help support us? So it was pretty loose for a long time, and I've been glad to see that you know, the structure of it has been solidified, and there is a rotation, and there is supervision by the county. I'll be very specific about my thoughts. This amount of money is increasing and obviously going to grow. If you come and go from Garden City like I do, and I'm a platinum flyer on American Airlines, people on those airplanes are coming here because of business, and those airplanes are running full. And I think part of this revenue needs to support what businesses are looking for. And I really think our Economic Development Corporation needs a source of funding. And certainly as a commissioner, I'm going to be looking to the increase in this bed tax as part of that solution. Because until we have some money in the kitty to help businesses come here, to help existing businesses fund improvements, we're going to be a little slower to develop than we've been. Lana and the group have done a great job, but I really think we need to give them some additional tools, and this may be one fund to help us do it.
Thank you. Russ, on the state, do you feel the additional $129 million lawmakers added for school funding to equalize capital outlay and local option budgets was sufficient, or is more money needed to support schools? There's a second question here that goes with it. What are some ideas on how we can get more money into the classroom where it's needed while getting better results than we currently have? That's not to be critical of the schools, by the way, but we're always looking to improve.
The first part of the question, yes, I agree that the $129 million that was appropriated was an appropriate amount to go ahead and meet the expectations of the Supreme Court's order as it related to the equitable distribution of funds to school districts. The fact of the matter is 91 House members voted for a bill that had exclusively funding as a part of the bill. And after a couple days of torture and psychological warfare, threats, and everything else, we ended up with something different that I didn't support, because it not only cut some funding to rural schools in this district, the one that I represent, it also granted $10 million worth of tax credits to corporations to go ahead and fund scholarships to private schools. And that was $10 million that could have remained in the state coffers to go towards funding other portions of education should it be needed. Part two of the question, is it adequate? I don't know if it's adequate or not. You can talk to a lot of different people and get a lot of different answers. What I do know is I raised 4 children in the Lakin schools, and they all graduated from high school, and they all went on to college, and they've all been successful, and a couple of them into grad school, and I would say they received an adequate education. Is it ideal? Probably not. But the courts are going to let us know about this too. The one area of concern about money in the classroom, we fund approximately 66% of the required transportation costs for school districts. This is the money to get kids from home to school, not for sports. If we don't adequately fund that, how can we expect the schools to ever meet a 60% or 70% amount in the classroom? They're spending it on buses.
Thank you. John?
I agree with Russ that the $129 million, I think, was adequate as far as the money just for the court case and such. It amazes me that we can spend $129 million in schools, take cuts like most of his schools. Garden City itself did okay, but most of the rural schools in our area didn't do okay. The bill as a whole just being a new guy in politics was disgusting. They needed 63 votes. We had a member of the House whose wife had passed away. They called him to come up to vote because they needed that 63rd vote. I mean, just things like this. Watching that bill and how it worked is what's just, it wasn't good for your stomach, I guess. It was not a good thing. Ideas for the classroom and such is, we need experts running education. We need to give them the funds, and we need to get out of the way. We have people, everybody has an idea of how they should run their school or this or that or the other. I think what we're trying to do at the state level is make it too much. We're getting into that business way more than we need to. I think you supply local schools with the funds that they need, and you let them run their schools. And I think that's, last thing on education, being a former teacher. What we did to the teachers union and that sort of thing, and poked at their eyeballs, I found that embarrassing. There's a war, kind of. And it was a war between, there's teachers, 400 teachers up there at 3 o'clock in the morning, all wearing red shirts. And it was a war between some groups of people, and it just, I don't know, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. Not a good answer, but it's an emotional answer. Okay.
Thank you. Lon, how important is tourism to our local economy? How would a new convention center play into future plans?
Well, first of all, I am a proponent of a convention center in Garden City and have been. We've lived here since 1981, and I have been most all those years that we have lived here. Not to become the entertainment center as Charlie was alluding to with regard to Dodge City, but to host more conventions, to host more visitors, if you will, to our community. Bill is absolutely right. A lot of the traffic in and out of Garden City is for business, and some of those funds maybe we need to take a look at some of those funds going toward business opportunities. But as far as the center itself, I'm a proponent. I think there should be one. However, I don't think it should be publicly led from a funding standpoint. I think it needs to be a private-public partnership. I've suggested that to a number of different players, if you will, over the years. And I think it maybe should be led by private funding, supported by public funding, and then supported ongoing, maybe with public funds. But certainly, I think there is a need. I think there has been a long-term need, and why not get it started now?
Thank you. Charles?
Well, I'm not exactly where the funding should come from, but I do know that if we get things to come to this community, this town, I do know that it increases revenue, it increases retail sales, it helps our community immensely, because the money turns over 5 or 6 times, and all of a sudden, that thing is a going thing that's gonna, I hope, someday pay for itself. I don't know that we need to fund it all with taxpayer dollars, but we may have to for a while. But it might come around to where it could really be something great for this community.
Thank you. Larry?
Well, we just spent a lot of money on the old exhibition building and re-insulated it, new heating, new lighting, new entrance, kind of gave it a facelift, first time in 30-some years, I think. And it's amazing how busy those buildings are down there at the fairgrounds. We get a monthly deal from Angie on the usage in there. They're used quite frequently. As far as building a new exhibition center, I've served on different committees and looked at different ones of those things. They are extremely expensive, and they're extremely expensive to run. And if you don't keep something in them all the time, they cost a lot of money. And so I would be, I'd be more interested in seeing a private, quasi-public entity run the thing, build it. That I would be interested in. As far as a public building going out and bonding and using taxpayer dollars to pay it off, I'm not very excited about that.
Okay. Dr. Cliff?
I certainly agree with Larry that it's probably a non-starter that we would take on bonded indebtedness to do a facility like that. I mean, I'm in business and I do things that make business sense. And I think a group, whatever that would be constructed as, should do the due diligence and right size a facility like this and look at, could it be filled? Could it have 80% utilization and make it work? But to me, if it makes sense for here, a private entity should step up and take on a project like that.
David?
Well, when I was on the city commission, we kind of brought this up too, and that's always been on one of the goals, was a convention center for all 8 years I've been on there. So the public basically wants it. It's the time right to go ahead and pursue it. I agree, public-private. I agree, once it's built, there's going to be costs to run it. It's going to be an ongoing expense. But I think if you make it a very multi-purpose type center to where you could do, like what John was talking when he was on the commission, of sports, you could have sports in there, you could have conventions in there, you could have concerts in there. You need to build it to where it is multifunctional. And I think you could do then to where you could have it very well used throughout the year, and it would be an asset to the community. You already got people coming to town shopping. Let's go ahead and keep them there overnight to where they stay in a hotel, where we get more of that bed tax in here, and then have them spend some money on the entertainment.
Thank you. John, Explain your thoughts on the move toward privatized healthcare in Kansas and the new CanCare system.
Trying to get me in trouble.
That's my job.
I want to make it very clear that I am not a big proponent of Obamacare. But I also want to make it very clear that if it would come up whether we wanted to opt out of Obamacare or not, I would vote to stay in Obamacare. The reason being is Medicare. And I'm afraid at the state level, CanCare, we just went into a partnership with 3 groups that privatize things that you work with. They all lost money. We're not in the insurance business. At a state level, we shouldn't be in the insurance level. I mean, they're obviously at the federal level aren't either, but to put Medicare in state government, I think would be a horrific mistake.
Well, I'm not going to have a great deal of sympathy for the private corporations who chose to bid this contract and are ending up losing money, because I think they projected the first year or two they would lose money and that it was at some point in time it would become profitable. So they went into this with their eyes open. There have been some positive things that happened because of CanCare. There's been an incredible amount of savings in terms of administrative cost savings to the state in administering this system. There have been some downsides. It's huge when you're talking about running a statewide medical insurance system for folks who are largely in poverty, that don't have the ability to gain health services themselves or pay for those. There were some real bumps in the road to start with. There's been slow pay to hospitals, there was slow pay to doctors and those kinds of things. Lots of complaints. John had them, I had them. We worked with the governor's office, the governor's staff. We've worked hard to try and iron those things out. I don't get as many calls as I once did, so I'm assuming that much of that has been resolved, and now we've gone into the developmental disabled population under that umbrella as well. It's a federal program really administered by the state, and we get 60% of the money for the cost of providing these services, and the state pays 40%. But we have the obligation to administer it, and it is complex. So it was a big change. It has reaped some savings. The contractors may not wish to be around in another couple of years if they're not making any money at some point in time, but we ran the system ourselves before, and now it's different. It's a change.
Thank you. Charles, are you satisfied with economic development initiatives regarding efforts to bring in primary jobs?
Yes, I am. Very. I think we can do more. I think when we talk about bringing in jobs to this community, where I think we need to put a lot of effort out is to get into this community some manufacturing. Somebody said, well, what kind of manufacturing? Who cares? As long as it's manufacturing, to get somebody in here. We've got already all the people we need. We got more business sometimes than we have people on the retail side. But if we had some way to improve our recruiting of manufacturers to come to this community and set up big nice shops. There's a shop at Holcomb, Kansas that is a tremendous manufacturing shop. They manufacture farm implements, and they send shiploads of manufactured products to Russia. Holcomb, Kansas. How'd they get that done? Well, they took some guts, and they decided they could do it. They didn't know a thing about it, but they decided they could do it. And lo and behold, it's turned out to be very successful. The problem they have is the same problem that we all have when we go to try to recruit manufacturing people. We don't have the qualified people to do it. We could improve that a lot. We're already doing something at the junior college level. We could get draftsmen, we could get welders, we could get people to do that job that would come here and live. And they wouldn't be on the retail side of things. They would be on the wholesale side of things and making the community work. Super, I think.
Thank you. Larry?
Well, you know, I guess if you talk to Lana, the problem they have is not the manufacturers or the businesses. They want to be here, but it's finding employees and then finding a place for the employees to live. Those two things are upmost on their list of things that get done. Lana's done a great job. You know, we see businesses come and go all the time that are very interested in Western Kansas, and we've got a little seed stock money built into the deal from the sale of the TPL property out there to them. We need to work on finding a source of funding for economic development that's steady, so they don't have to worry about, you know, their budgets and stuff every year, you know, whether we're going to short them or give them a little more. And then they can build that nest egg to incentivize people to build businesses here and build homes and bring people here. So, you know, we looked at economic development plans in Pueblo, Colorado, and it was amazing what they accomplished out there with just a little bit of sales tax money. You know, they lost their major employer many years ago when the steel mill shut down. And they stepped up, passed a sales tax, and they really have an economic driver out there now. We went to Amarillo and looked at the one in Amarillo, Texas, and it was it's the same way. And it's a region. It's mainly the whole panhandle of Texas. And I think, you know, there's lots of ways to do this, and they're looking, and we're open to suggestions. So I think it's a good project. You know, I'm all for economic development because we need to spread the tax base, and that's the way to do it.
Thank you. Dr. Clifford?
I'd echo what Larry says. It's an exciting time to be in Finney County. I mean, we're seeing the results of the work that people have done for years here. I think sometimes public entities do a better job by getting out of the way of business, but sometimes they get it right. When Larry and I were on the airport board quite a few years ago, we put up a tower because the city of Garden City said, yeah, we'll support that. And that's become a tremendous lever to help us leverage business into Garden City by having excellent air service. We didn't have American Airlines to Dallas at the time we put up the tower, but that was part of the vision and it worked. I think the school system and the voters, the patrons of the district, by building a brand new high school here for the first time in 50 years, have said we're serious about this community and we're serious about educating our kids, and that's what employers look for, whether they're expanding their business or coming to a city. I think we in the county obviously are open to suggestions, but I think we get to help improve the connectedness of the county. We need to work with the state and work with the cities in our county to improve the roads between our entities, to get another bridge, probably there at Sagebrush, which is still a dirt at-grade crossing. We need to get the Holcomb Railroad crossing going, because all of these things are economic levers to take us to the next step, to get businesses to create those primary jobs. So we'll be open for business in the county.
Thank you. David?
Well, first of all, you don't cut funding to an underfunded agency already. You know, it's one of the most successful, I think, agencies we have in the city and county right now. The economic development has been very successful. Even though we haven't had the primary jobs from new manufacturing coming into town that people really would want to see, but I know we've had some existing businesses expand. We've had some smaller companies come into the city and county. I agree with Larry, we need to find some type of permanent funding for them. Sales tax, if we could do something on that, if we can tap into some of the bed tax, a percent of that, whatever we can do to find a permanent funding to give them the monies they need to adequately go out and recruit these businesses to come in. When I first got on the commission, they had Bill Fruitman, and he said what you got to do is get primary jobs here first. Well, we had Leprino looking at the town, which was a large group, a large business for primary jobs. But it was a toss-up between us and the Front Range. And maybe if we would have had more of the shopping here that we're getting now, maybe that would have swayed him a little bit more. But also we have to have a level, stable electric rates and utility rates for these companies to come in, which the city is addressing right now with the KMEA, with generation out there. So, like I say, I think we're just on the verge of really seeing a lot of good things happening in the county here. So we just need to continue funding, and if we can, possibly increase the funding to it.
Thank you, Dave. Lon?
Well, certainly I'm a proponent of economic development as it relates to business. As being a business owner, I want to see additional businesses come in and help this whole community. So certainly I am a proponent of economic development. The funding, the stable source of funding, I think it was Larry mentioned that, is critical. No matter what the dollars is, there needs to be stability in those dollars. And I think that's what they're seeing in some of these other communities that have been studied. The two things there are a couple of things, not just the two things, a couple of things we need for economic development though are mountains, water, and trees. And we aren't going to have those things. So we've got to figure out other ways to attract people into this community. We need to, we can attract more businesses, but every business right now has a sign on its door needing help, now hiring, interviewing. And it's not just in Garden City. Hayes is experiencing that. Other communities are experiencing that in western Kansas. So it's not just a Garden City issue. And then lastly, I would say, economic development is not just all about recruiting new businesses. It's about helping existing businesses expand if they want to. Microsoft expanded out of a garage into what it is today. If we've got a garage business in Garden City, economic development needs to be there to help them get out of the garage if that's their desire. So to me, economic development is more than attracting the primary jobs with new businesses. It's helping businesses that are here expand if they would desire to do so.
Thank you. Now to the state side, Russ. Several attempts were made to repeal the state's renewable portfolio standard this past session. Do you support a repeal? And expand a little bit, don't just...
Well, I'll expand a little bit. I took the lead in resisting the efforts of those who wish to repeal the renewable energy portfolio standard. Spoke on the floor of the House probably a half a dozen times in the last 2 weeks of the session. And on every occasion we were able to beat back those efforts to repeal this. Those that favor repeal will claim that it is costing us huge amounts of money in our electric bills, and that is simply not true. The Kansas Corporation Commission is responsible for regulating public utilities in this state, and they have an obligation that in the event the renewable energy portfolio standard exceeded 1% increase in anyone's electric rate, that they have the ability to tell the electric utility it is no longer necessary. The wind industry has created $13 billion of investment in this state and nearly 13,000 jobs. We have lots of wind. We're the second best state to locate wind turbines in, and we can export it because we now have the ability to actually produce a greater amount of electricity than what we can use. And right now there's a project to export wind energy specifically to Illinois and Indiana, where there's a huge demand. So much like wheat or other products or airplanes, we have the ability to go ahead and generate electricity and sell it to others. We would be sending absolutely the wrong message to the industry and absolutely the wrong message to other states if we were to repeal this standard. The utilities are nearly there. We almost have all of the utilities at 20% of their production. And but for the wind energy, one utility in this state says over 20 years' time it would have cost $1 billion more to ratepayers for their electricity because they have avoided having to expand generating plants to meet the demand or get export or import electricity.
Thank you. John?
Well, Daryl, you had it. This is about wind energy. Paper that Daryl Combs just passed out, and then I'm with Russ. There was a group of us. It's going to come back. ALAC it's an American Legislative Executive Council. They are totally against wind energy, and so we're going to see it over and over and over again. And it came up what 3-4 times the last, and they tried to back door, they tried to front door, they tried every which way to get it to kill wind energy. And like Russ said, he took the lead on it. You got those guys up there that know the back door way, and we was able to stop it each and every time. And I really feel that as time goes on, there's more of us that understand the importance of having alternative sources of energy.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing, he was mentioned, I got a little time yet, Steve?
Yeah.
When the governor was out here, we were talking, and I was talking to the governor about, with this tax breaks and everything, we need to bring manufacturing out here. I was like, we need to diversify. All our eggs are in one basket. And I was taking him back to the airport. And I said, the city owns like 600 acres around the city here. And this would be an ideal place for manufacturing, just because the feed yards came here because of moderate temperatures and low humidity. I would think, and he said, and the governor asked, what type of manufacturing do you think? I said, wind turbines. There has to be a bolt or something that goes on a wind turbine. I said, we have we have it right here. It has to be low water usage because we have no water. But when Charles was saying that, we were all over that already.
Yeah.
Thank you. Come back to the county, and Larry, are there new opportunities for consolidation of services between the county and the city of Garden City? I think it's been explored before.
I'm sure there are. At one time, we talked about, combining law enforcement, like Riley County has done, and just having, that's a noisy phone.
Your time's up.
We work pretty close with the city on lots of different projects. That's an example. We kind of looked into it, and another one would be on maintenance. We have an excellent shop with mechanics, and I'm sure the city does too. And there's a little duplication of services there. I'm sure there's lots of different things, and it will all be driven by economy will force us to do it. We've got to look for efficiencies, and I know there's several small communities around here that have already combined up Tribune up in that area, and it's just driven by economy. The state of Kansas has got way too many counties. We don't need this many counties in the state, but we do, and that's where we're at. It's all government needs to get more efficient, and if you looked at how the state of Kansas ranks as the amount of government per citizen, we're either 1 or 2, which is surprising. First time I saw those figures, I couldn't believe it. I thought it'd be California or somebody like that. No, it's us. Wyoming's another one, but that's just because they don't have very many people.
Yeah.
But as a commissioner, we talk about efficiencies all the time whenever we try to think about combining departments, anything to save some money.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Clever?
Well, I don't know the specific areas that could be consolidated, but I think there certainly is room for consolidation. We certainly duplicate services almost side by side with Garden City in finance and human resources and in multiple areas, maintenance, as Larry suggests. So I would certainly be open to consolidation. I think we need a little relief from the state if certainly government entities are going to combine, but I think with the stress on the taxpayers, I think we owe it to the taxpayers to look at how can we make government more efficient. So yeah, I'm an open-minded about consolidation.
Thank you. David?
I'm all for continuing to look at different areas of consolidation, because I brought this up a couple of years ago on the city commission of the county. And I know last time I was on the commission, I think the last joint meeting we had with the county and the city, it was agreed that Matt and the city manager and Randy Partington, that they would get together and look, see if there's areas that city and county could work together on. Some areas I think is maybe if we could look at insurance, just property insurance on the buildings. Could it be a possibility you can find one broker that could it be cheaper? Could we save some money if they insured the city and the county buildings together under policies like that? Same thing with phones. I know we have different computer operating systems in the county and the city, but is it something that we should look forward to in the future to get on the same type of computer programs and operating systems, where it could be maybe get just one IT manager that could go in and work both of them. It could be savings for both entities. So I think there's a lot of possibilities out there. It's just thinking and pursuing them, and it's not going to happen overnight, you know. Because the city, I don't know where the county computer systems are, or the cities, but we look forward. And eventually it may take 10 years, but whatever we can do to consolidate, I'm all for it.
Thank you. Ron?
Well, I am definitely a proponent of looking for ways to consolidate, not just from a financial standpoint, but particularly in a county like Finney County, from a turf standpoint. And my experience goes back 30 years with the volunteer role that I had with the Chamber of Commerce, and we said, well, this is a city deal, and they said, no, that's a county thing, and no, it's the city, and we had this turf thing going on. So to me, it's as much a financial thing as it is not having turfs. But I am familiar with the Riley County law enforcement thing. Things like that make some sense to me. Things within our county that can be consolidated should be looked at. I am a strong proponent of lesser government and more efficient government. And if we were in private business as a government entity, we'd be looking for efficiencies in how to do things with less. And so consolidation is definitely one of the things that should be on the table to help us accomplish those efficiencies and lesser government.
Thank you. Charles?
There's always room for improvement. And the thing that gets in the way is our own personal likes and dislikes. And we have a board of city people and a board of county people, and they neither one seemingly want to give very much. And there's some reasons for that. Don't know what they all are because I've never been there. But when you look at what we duplicate in this community with our tax dollars, pretty astronomical. We have to find some way to consolidate. We have to find some way to cut the cost of doing the businesses we do. I don't know what it's going to be, but it can be studied. And some decision with a group of people with average mentality, some group of people is going to come up with the right idea, and it's going to work. It's going to save money, and it's going to make everything more efficient. And isn't that what we want? I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. John, on the state, what's the state's role in job creation? And speak to programs you'd support that would bring more jobs to Southwest Kansas.
Well, the big one we have right now is what we're going on with the zero income tax. The tax structure is very important to bring job creation in, and the idea of zero income tax is a fantastic idea if it works. Secondly, the state's responsible for infrastructure. It's the infrastructure that highways, trains, tracks and such, we need to help contribute to that. Airplanes, of course, that's important. And third, we have to make Kansas a place to, you know, the housing aspect. The state can help with the housing. The housing development was just opened up on Campus Street was by state funds. So, and bring people in. You know, some of our, we have to be careful on our immigration laws and that sort of thing, on the message that we may be sending out, you know, to people who want to come to Garden City to work or to Kansas to work. You know, we have to be careful on the types of laws that we pass or insinuate, you know, so we have workers, because, you know, I think last I saw we have a 3.8 unemployment rate, which that's just people who can't work. Anybody can have a job that comes here. We need workers, especially if we want to go into manufacturing.
Thank you.
May I say a word?
Sure.
You want to sit over here?
I came to Garden City in 1959. And I'm telling you, it's a wonderful place. I had a young family with 3 kids. And I graduated from Emporia State University. And I didn't have enough money to come out here and look for a house. So I got a U-Haul trailer and come out anyway. And I got here. And much to my surprise, there was not one place to rent. Not one. And that was in 1959. And I'm going to tell you something, it's almost that bad today. What have we done? And why haven't we done more? I don't know. There's some reason. But what is it? Something's holding up building of living structures.
Did that cut into Russ's time?
Ask the official. Okay. Russ, again, the question, what's the state's role in job creation, and speak to programs you'd support that would bring more jobs to Southwest Kansas?
Well, I think the first thing the state needs to do is, as much as possible, stay out of the way of private business and allow it to develop with the least amount of regulation possible. I mean, we regulate ourselves out of a lot of business. The other thing that I think we have to do, and as it relates specifically to Southwest Kansas, is the real question is, how do you keep kids here? How do you get them back? We need a trained workforce. This is what brings in businesses. It is a trained workforce to do whatever it is this business wants to do. So if the state gets out of the way and entrepreneurs are given an opportunity to find that trained workforce in the area, they can find the land. The land's not the issue, but we need to be open to it. The governor had the rural opportunity zones, and that's really kind of the theme of those, is how do we get people to come back to rural Kansas? And I know many of the people in here are talking about Finney County, Garden City. I look at Tribune, Kansas. Tribune, Kansas is a success story. 20 years ago, tumbleweeds rolled down the street. Most businesses on Main Street were empty. And today the tumbleweeds are gone, and every building has a viable, functioning business. And they have a strong community. And I think the lesson I've taken from my time visiting Tribune is, it's that community desire to be successful and working together. They changed their form of government to make it work. It was not easy for them. But I think we have to have courage, and as far as the state goes, help facilitate and support. The state cannot fix the problems of every community across the state. We just need to be out of your way and support you in ways that make sense.
Thank you. Now, on the housing thing, this is not another question here, but Charles brought up the housing, and I guess if you want to expand on that or talk about the housing situation, we'll give a couple minutes to each of you, and that's just wide open if anybody wants to jump in here.
Well, I'll go ahead, since
Okay.
Charles is right.
Okay.
You know, part of the issue, as I understand it, with the housing, and it kind of speaks to what Russ is saying from a state standpoint, are some of the rules and regulations that we have, some of the ordinances and so forth and so on. I think we need to take a look at that. Are they impeding people from being constructors of new homes and apartments and so forth? And I think some of those were looked at. I think some of them were modified, if you will, to encourage some development. And then certainly there was some state participation, as John mentioned, as to encourage one development here in town. So there's absolutely a need for more housing. But again, part of it is, what do we have to attract them here even after the housing is here? Business-wise, recreationally, shopping, and so forth and so on.
Thank you.
I know on the housing part of it here, I know when ConAg burned down and we lost the 3,000 jobs overnight, a lot of our landlords within a year or two, you know, they went from a 95, 99% occupancy probably down to a 50 or 60% occupancy. And it made a lot of the landlords gun shy when that housing started filling up again to build new rentals. So the city got through and tried to come up with what kind of incentives could we come up to entice these builders to feel safe to build. And the cost of the infrastructure was really, that's the biggest thing, the impediment to people building. So the city got really creative and tried to come up with some different things to help defer these costs of the infrastructure. And I think we're to the point now, we have the Chapel Heights edition going up out there. We're looking at, another company is putting in 250 units up by North Campus. So, like I say, I think we're at the top of the hill and we're about ready to go down to where we're going to see plenty of housing in here.
I don't have a comment.
I'm not an expert either on that.
Okay, just want to give you. Okay, we went over your time, and we said we'd be here from 6 to 7:30 tonight, correct? So, one last thing, and I'm going to start here with John to my right. Please explain why you are best suited to represent constituents in your district.
I'm best suited because I have the passion, the time, and then, you know, to do it and the means to do it. And it's to say I'm the best person, I would say, you know, Jerry Schultz might be the best person, you know, whoever might be the person. But I have the time, I have the passion. You know, people can accuse or say whatever they want about myself, but I don't think anyone can question my passion for Garden City. And you know, when I'm up there, I don't work. I tell people, you know, they say, are you conservative, you a liberal, you whatever, you know, I'm a localist. You know, you know, every time that there's a question, I'll call economic development, I'll call the city, I'll call Randy, I will call, you know, people on the commission, because I really don't care if I offend some group in Topeka or Kansas City or anywhere else. What I want is what's best. If Garden City succeeds, Kansas succeeds. You know, and when there's a lot of issues that you have that don't, you know, have any impact on Garden City. You know, and that's separating the wheat from the chaff. But when it comes to Garden City, my love for Garden City is here, and I have the time and love doing it.
Thank you. Russ.
Boy.
How do you follow that?
We made a deal.
So, yeah. So what makes me the best candidate? I think it's this. I have a diverse background and experience in a number of jobs that I've held in my life. I've been blessed with a family of 4 children who are all successful and a wife of 37 years, and I share the values of the people that I represent in the state legislature, and my voting record reflects that. But I think one of the most important things that I take with me to this position is the ability to articulate in clear terms to the members of the body and persuade them about issues that are important to Western Kansas. We are outnumbered seriously in the state legislature, many more Easterners than Westerners. And I think in the 2 years that I've been there, I have demonstrated the ability to reach out to those folks, to argue a point on behalf of our part of the state and our values and our needs and desires, and I've proven to be successful at that. I have a voting record that can be examined, and I have a track record of performance that can be examined, and that's what sets me apart from my opponent. it is completely unknown. You'll get a card, it'll say something, but you won't know until people get there and do it. And I'm not at all ashamed of what I've done in the past 2 years, and I'll work at it and I'll take the time to do the best I can.
Charles.
Now, if I do really well, I might get a standing ovation. I'm probably the only one standing. Let me tell you why I'm running for this little job. First off, and foremost, I'm honest. I have no axe to grind with anybody. If I have enemies, I don't know about them. I don't want to either. I physically can't work anymore, but mentally I'm not too bad. And I believe that I can read over the issues that come before this board. And I believe that I can make a decision that's correct for my constituents. My deal is, if I run and get elected for this job, and you have a problem with me, I'm pretty darned easy to find. I'm the only guy in town with ears this big. I can hear you for miles. But if you'll come close to my house, we'll visit about whatever the issue is. The only thing I say to you if you come to my house to visit, don't come angry. Don't come angry. That makes me angry. And I don't want to do that. If you got a problem, state the problem. Maybe I can fix it. But when I vote, you know, I'm only 20% of a board. But I'll do my best to make the right decisions for you, the taxpayers. Thank you very much.
I knew that was coming. I've known Charlie too many years. That's what makes these elections kind of fun, because you know the people, have known them for years, but it's kind of scary too, because you've known the people for years. No, I believe that my qualifications as a business owner, as someone who's been willing to be a volunteer in a number of ways over the years, has been a member of the community for over 30 years, is what brings me to wanting to even run for this position. I've had so many people, including families, say, "Why in the world are you doing this?" You know, we spend time visiting grandkids. A couple of them in the back of the room with my wife tonight, but and we love doing that. But we have a passion for Finney County and Garden City, as John is talking about with Garden City, to see it become even a better place in which families can live and in which businesses can thrive, positive businesses can thrive. I will not sacrifice my principles, my beliefs as I make decisions, but I will listen. And as I said early on, one of the promises that I've made to the people in our district is to listen to them first before we make decisions, especially the taxpayers who are funding who are footing the bill, because they're the ones that we should be paying attention to. And I feel like I am a good listener, that I can take that to the meeting room table and we can have a good discussion and make a wise decision. So I believe that the 12 years I had on a state board, the 8 years I was on the community college board have helped me and provided me wisdom on how to be a governing, a member of a governing board. And we are passionate about Southwest Kansas. It's my wife's roots, and we don't plan to leave here anytime soon, so we want to see it thrive, it being Finney County and Garden City.
Thank you.
I'd like to continue the success I've seen with the Finney County and Garden City that I saw on the 8 years on the City Commission. I think we've had a lot of success when I was on it as a commissioner with the help of the county. And I want to continue that success being a county commissioner. You know, many times when I was on the city commission, I'm not too politically correct. You know, I'm going to say how I feel, and you'll know I'm not going to beat around the bush when there's issues up. I'm going to tell you my feelings, and in return, I would like the public not beat around the bush either with me to tell me their true feelings. I'm the type of person who can take criticism better than praise, because I know with criticism people are honest. With praise, you don't know if they're really honest or they're just trying to get you. So, but like I say, I just want to continue the success I've seen with the help of the county that I saw on the city, with the city commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Garden City Telegram again for allowing me to be part of the forum. As you know, I'm a non-contested candidate in primary, but I do need someone other than my wife to vote for me. I'm a physician, and I wasn't born here, I wasn't raised here, but I chose to live here. So I want this community to be the best community it can be, the county to be the best county it can be. As a physician, I listen to people. That's what I do all day long. And I can guarantee our citizens, our taxpayers, that I will listen to you. I'm also a business owner. I always said that I got involved with government because they're using my money to do it. And owning several businesses with Dr. Fry, you know, I view it as my money, not the government's money. So I'm there to protect the interests of us taxpayers. Finally, I've been an elected official, elected 4 terms to the Garden City Community College Board of Trustees. I understand governance, and I also understand how to let a CEO do his job, to demand that the CEO work and the staff work for the taxpayers. So I think those qualities make me a good candidate for the Finney County Commission. Thank you.
Well, I'm kind of like John. I'm far from the best. That's kind of a loaded question. I was blessed with a family that believed in public service, and we always, you know, our forefathers gave back to the community, and I've kind of followed in the footsteps. So I served 12 years on the school board at Holcomb. Enjoyed every minute of it. You know, people always ask me, why would you ever want to serve on the school board? I thought it was a great time. I had kids in school, so I had vested interest. Being on the county commission has been a great job. It's been great serving with Cliff and Roman. They're going off the board, and I think they've done an excellent job, and they've done a lot for the community. I forgot to thank the Telegram and the Chamber for hosting this at the start. I want to do that now. But what I really want to say is you've got 4 great candidates here that are coming on the commission. Or 3 of them running against each other. And Dr. Clifford, I'm going to get a serve with him again.
Me.
The 2 guys that we really need to support are sitting right over there. They've done a great job for us. Anytime we've needed anything from the state, they listen. You can always get a hold of them. So I encourage everybody in the crowd to support those 2 guys, because, you know, that's not an easy job. And that is the worst thing in the world, have to drive to Topeka all the time. Right? I'd rather take a beating than have to drive back. But they're doing a great job, and we need to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to thank all of our candidates here tonight. Again, we have for the Finney County Commission District 1, David Grace, Lon Pishney, and Charles Sinclair. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Finney County Commission District 4, we have Dr. Clifford running unopposed. Thank you, Dr. Clifford. Finney County Commission District 5, Larry Jones running unopposed. Thank you for being here, Larry. And then House District 122, Representative Russ Jennings, thanks for being here. And House District 123, Representative John Dahl, running unopposed. I'd like to thank you for being here too.
Thank you.
And again, we'd like to thank the City of Garden City and Ashley. Let's give Ashley another hand. And our hope, at least as the Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce, would be that you become more informed tonight being here or being listening on the TV, watching it there, that you become more informed as a voter, and that the positions that the candidates put forth tonight, that you can take that into consideration as you go to the polls. And with that, Steve, do you have anything?
Yeah, just, I'm sure any of the counties would stay around if you had additional questions. There wasn't much public comment actually at this event, but I'm sure any of them would stay, and if you had a direct question for one of them or all, then they would be able to answer it. But the forum will end now, and we can open it up for community comments after that. So, thank you. Thanks for your time.